Welcome back to the dojo, y'all. Glad you could make it. Thank you for tuning in. Come on in. Go ahead and leave a like while you're at it. Share the video and subscribe. The topic of discussion for today is J.O.B. J.O.B. Oh, Sensei, what's a J.O.B.? It's a job. But also, if you want to be technical, it's a just over broke. Right? And we're going to talk about that tonight. Just over broke. You know, it's good to have a job. It's good to work a 9 to 5. It teaches you discipline. And you also make money, which is a necessity for the society that we live in. But for all the dreams and ideals of grandeur when it comes to finances, everybody wants to be rich. You will find that working a job will never get you rich. Because if working a job could get you rich, we'd all be rich. But that's not the case, is it? And besides, if we were all rich, nobody would be. Just like if we were all smart, nobody would be. You feel what I'm saying? There needs to be some type of differentiation, some type of yardstick or measurement between parties. Why is that? Because it's important and imperative to understand your identity, who you are, and where you stand. Right? A job is something that you work in order to survive financially. You work a job to survive financially, to pay your bills, to put food on the table, to put clothes on your back. You know what I mean? To take care of your necessities, your utilities, and all those other things. You know what I mean? Sometimes it's even good to have money for emergencies. Save some for a rainy day. Right? And with a job, you can do all of that. Yes, indeed. You can save money, depending on what kind of job you got. But let's stick to the topic, which is basically just over broke. Working a job, you'll never get rich, like I said before. Because if that was the case, we'd all be rich. So, why is it that you can't get rich working a job? Because you're too busy making somebody else rich. But the alternative is homelessness or just getting lucky. Also, there's another option. Stack your chips until you can cash out. What am I talking about? Nobody really wants to work a job their entire life. Nobody really wants to do it. But most of us do it because we don't know how to invest our money. We don't know how to save our money. And with the climate of finances and inflation today, it's very difficult to save money. There's always something you got to spend it on. You have to be extremely frugal when you work a job. You can't just splurge. You can't just spend. You know what I mean? Unless you got somebody taking care of you, but even still. You know what I mean? Ain't nothing funny when you fuck your money up. I'll tell you that. When you work a job long enough, you learn how to save money. You learn how to manage money. I gotta make it to Friday with this $20. It's really not no way to live. But the society that we live in today is a debt-based society. What are you talking about, Hawk Sensei? Our society is ran upon debt. D-E-B-T, debt. explain that to me, Hawk Sensei. I don't, what you mean, debt? Okay, I got you, right? This system that we subscribe to, this system that we earn currency to support, this system borrows money. What? Yes, this system borrows money. Well, if this system borrows money, who does it borrow from? It borrows from the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve is not directly attached to America. The Federal Reserve is simply a bank, and it's privately owned. And if it's not privately owned, meaning you know who owns it, this Federal Reserve that our nation borrows money from, it's borrowed at interest, right? So let's say America borrows $100,000 at 10% interest. The Federal Reserve is basically the people who print the money. You feel what I'm saying? So they set the interest rate. But they're the only ones who are printing the money. So where does the interest money come from? It comes from your J.O.B. It comes from indentured servantship. It comes from repossession. That's where it comes from. So that money that America borrowed and put into our pockets, America has to pay that money back. So 10% of 100,000, what's that? 10% of 100,000. Well, 10% of 100 is 10. 10% of 1,000 is 100. You know, just keep adding zeros. All right. That interest money, it has to be paid back. But if that money is not printed, how does it get paid back? It doesn't. And that's how our society runs. Our society runs upon debt. Owing money keeps this system functioning. I may not be the most articulate person when it comes to explaining things like this, but if you look into it, you'll understand that we need debt to keep this system going. Especially when all our money has interest attached to it. That's why we gotta pay taxes on everything, right? But ultimately, these jobs that we work, they wear us out. They leave us feeling stressed out, feeling drained, feeling worn out. You know? And the way things are going nowadays, it's looking like we're not going to be able to make it just off working one job. You got to work 2 and 3 jobs. You got to have more than one income coming into your household just to make ends meet, just to survive. Right? So if a job is not the answer, what's the alternative? I don't know. Because if I knew, I'd be able to tell you. Right? But we do what we have to do to survive. For those of us who can't think of anything better than just working the same job, that's what we do. Why? Because we want to survive. We want to keep food on the table. We want to make sure the light's on. You know what I mean? We want to make sure the water's still running. But ultimately, these jobs are just pure sacrifice. Just pure sacrifice. You know? I heard somebody saying, man, it's hard to find people who want to work these days. I wanted to say, it's hard to find jobs that want to pay you these days, but that wasn't none of my business. You know? I could talk about my job, but this ain't the place for that. I'm thankful for the job that I have. You know what I mean? I'm thankful for what I have. But ultimately, if inflation keeps going, I'm not going to be able to make it on the job that I got. The cost of living is just getting out of hand. But I didn't come here to give you a sob story. I came here to explain to you that a job, a J.O.B, is just over broke. It's never going to get you rich. You go to work so that you can have your needs met. You go to work so you can take care of your responsibilities. You know? That's why we go to work. Because it costs to live. It costs to live. Right? We didn't ask for this. We didn't ask to be placed upon this planet. But if you want to survive, you got to subscribe to the system. You got to work you a job. And even if you don't work a job, you still going to have a job. You're still going to do some type of service, some type of contribution to society. You can say what you want about people who sell drugs, but they are doing a service to the community, and they're taking a risk while they're doing it. You know what I mean? That's still a service. You know what I mean? It may not be the most reputable, but it's still a service. You know what I mean? Everybody has to contribute something to society. You know what I mean? Everybody does. If you ever bought anything, you contributed to society. You know what I mean? If you ever bought anything, you contributed to society. Right? So J.O.B, just over broke. Why do they call it just over broke? And they've been saying this for many, many years. This isn't anything new. Just over broke. They call it that because that's the reality that you live in when you work a job. You got just enough to pay your bills, just enough to get what you need. It would be nice if we didn't have to stress about money. Money is really what gets in the way of life. And the jobs that we work, they basically take up 1/3 of our life. Think about it. There's 24 hours in a day. And you work 8 hours of that day. You're supposed to sleep for 8 hours. And the other 8 hours is just your spare time. 8, 16, 24. 1/3 of your day is at work. 1/3 of your life is at work. Ain't that something? When you really look at how much time we spend it. But if you wasn't there, what else would you be doing? Just wasting away, probably. You know, working, it gives us something to do. Having a job, at the very least, it gives us a sense of purpose. Now, I'll tell you this. There were days when I was completely depressed, right? I didn't know if I even still wanted to live my life, right? But believe it or not, going to work, it took my mind off of my problems. A job can definitely be a good thing. Don't let me influence you to think that a job is not good. No, you should have a job. A job is a good way to stay out of trouble. You know what I mean? A job is a good way to be respected by your fellow man. You know what I mean? When people see that you're a working man, or, you know what I mean? A woman who, you know, goes to work, provides for herself, it's respectable, it's commendable. You know what I mean? You see a bum on the street begging for change, you don't respect him. You might empathize with him or sympathize even, but you don't respect him. Especially when they look healthy, like look like they able-bodied. You know what I mean? And they say that because you're not making a contribution to society. We all got to get up and work and then pay taxes on the money that we earn. And you sitting here begging for our money. You know what I mean? I can understand the sentiment. You know what I mean? But the reality is they just wanted freedom. But their freedom, it costs. They got to ask people for their freedom. You know what I mean? The freedom that they want, they have to ask people for it. Why? Because they still live in this society. Instead of learning how to hunt, fish, gather resources and all that other stuff, they just said, I'd rather just beg for change. I will rather beg for a change in my life and ask people to help me instead of doing it myself. You know what I mean? But this society will keep you in a prolonged state of adolescence if you let it. The system doesn't really want us to grow up. If you really notice, job is kind of like school. You know what I mean? It's got the same type of elements, the same type of energy. You know what I mean? The competition. You know what I mean? Sometimes, depending on where you work, there may be, flirtation in the air. You know what I mean? Never know. There are a lot of good things that can come with work. You know what I mean? It's all about how you look at the job that you have. And no, you don't have to work there for the rest of your life if you make a plan. You know what I mean? How to become financially self-sufficient. Easier said than done, but people have done it. You know what I mean? I just wanted to say this to you because a lot of us out there, we have jobs. Be thankful that you have a job. Be grateful that you have a job. There are plenty of people out there who've been out of work for quite a while or just recently lost their employment. So, if you have a job, I know sometimes it sucks to have to get up in the morning and report, but be thankful you have that job because that job means that you have a constant stream of income so you can support yourself. So you don't have to be out here starving. You don't have to be out here making poor decisions just to feed yourself. You know what I mean? So if you have a job, be thankful. Because believe you me, there are plenty of people out there who wish they had your position. With that being said, Professor Hawk signing out. Hawk Sensei bids you adieu. Hope you're waking up every day with a plan and a purpose. Hope you're waking up with a smile. You know what I mean? If you're not waking up with a plan, a purpose, or even a smile, at least you're waking up. Oh yeah. Before I go, do me a favor and like the video because I know you like it. You made it this far. I know you like it. Share the video because why not? Don't be stingy. Share. Sharing is caring. And last but not least, subscribe. Because you came back to this channel too many times not to push that button. Thanks for tuning in. Till next time, guys. Take care.